Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here, and I remembered to unmute the mic. All right, how's everyone doing on this amazing Sunday, the last Sunday of April? We are full swing into 2024 at this point. I see we already have some folks out here in the chat. We've got my guy Foz Rotten. We've got Coy, Mr. Happy Sanjo himself. We also have got Andronis. Allie is in the chat as well. Great to see you, Allie. And Tyler Adams makes a return. What's happening, Tyler? Great to see you, man. Allie, what you're saying there about your team. Well, hey, at least you guys have that one win. My boys might be saying goodbye tonight, just depending on whether or not they're able to get one game against the frickin' Rangers. And there is Gene Whitcomb right on cue as I bring up the New York Rangers because they're beating the crap out of my Capitals. Really great defense over there, Gene, and of course, great goaltending as well. So, you guys are stifling my guys pretty hard there. We've also got Paul. Evil Monsterism is in the chat. Welcome, Paul. How are you doing this weekend? How's everyone's weekend gone? It's we're kind of rounding things out here. Your Sunday scaries are probably fully set in at this point. But hopefully you got some chores taken care of, maybe some meal prep done. Kate is really heavy into chores right now because her father is visiting this coming Friday. So, of course, I've been trying to help out and do what I can as well. But she is like full bore, deep cleaning chore lady right now. So, we're just doing what we can to get ready for that amazing trip. Her father's visiting from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we're gonna go see the Rolling Stones on the Tuesday after he comes into town. So that'll be let's see here. That will be Tuesday the 7th. We will be seeing the Rolling Stones at State Farm Field, or whatever the heck they call it, stadium, I guess, where the Arizona Cardinals play. So that should be a wild time. But yeah, Gene says go Rangers. You guys look really, really good, Gene. And Antonis is doing fine. He's excited for the season 3, the Chucky season 3 finale that's hitting here on Wednesday night. So that'll be great for everyone that's been watching that show. We've got Gary in the chat. What's happening? Blue Wolf 87. Sorry you're late. No need to apologize, Gary. We're just kind of saying what's up to everyone and introing and everything like that. So we've got 11 people hanging out watching. So really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. Mud Nelson Gavin is in the chat. What's happening, Gavin? Man, did you guys see? I know a lot of y'all were in the stream the other night for the Haddonfield Nightmare, but did you guys see that Braden ended up taking the film down just yesterday? Because I guess a whole bunch of Halloween fan films have been getting hit with copyright. So you guys were some of the lucky few, or at least like the last people to see it while it was public on YouTube. So I'm really happy that you guys got that chance to check it out. And of course, bummed out that a whole bunch of Halloween fan films are being taken off YouTube and that people are having to take precautionary measures so their video or their channel doesn't get hit with that copyright, which can affect you. Depending on what kind of copyright they file on a video, it can affect the channel in different ways. So really pumped that you guys could check that out for Halfway to Halloween, which was just, we celebrated last Friday, but it's coming up here midweek. Let's see here. Gavin says, my girlfriend is going out to Arizona without me in May. Well, is she going out for work, Gavin? And where? I can't remember where you had said you're living at. So she must be coming out for work or maybe to visit family. Just let me know. She can come by and hang out with us while we visit with Kate's dad. All right, Gary had to get some snacks. What are you snacking on, Gary? I'm always interested to know what people are. You got your Crispix going, or are you eating something else here? Where Nomad has gone before. Greg is in the chat. Welcome back, sir. Yeah, Gene saw it before it was taken down. Yeah, it is. It's too bad, and luckily for Braden, it doesn't negatively affect his channel to take it off. But it is a bummer because he has like 1.4, 1.5 million views somewhere around there. So it's a video that I would imagine has done very well for his channel and helps bring people in. So it is a bummer that he had to take that off there. All right, guys. Hey, what's happening, Brooke? We've got Brooke Scarlett in the chat. Welcome, Brooke. Great to see you. Let's see here. Antonis says, I don't know if I asked you this before, but what is your favorite horror franchise, Davey? Well, my favorite is sometimes it's kind of tough. Like, my first initial answer is going to be Halloween because I just love that first film so much, and then a few of the others in the franchise that are really close to my heart. And Michael Myers is my favorite slasher villain or slasher icon. But Evil Dead is like right there. They're just neck and neck as far as favorite franchise. I think Evil Dead is a bit more of a solid franchise as far as I don't think there's a weak entry, even though Evil Dead Rise is probably my least favorite. It's not like I didn't really enjoy the movie. I mean, I purchased it when it came out on Blu-ray, so really, really dig that film as well. Just, it didn't really meet my expectations. I thought it would push things further, and it didn't really do that. But Evil Dead is so creative and so punk rock and just so wild that it's right up there. It's definitely a franchise that changed the way I looked at film forever. So, while Michael Myers is my favorite slasher icon, I'd say that Evil Dead probably has had a bigger impact on me as a fan film, or a fan film, as a fan of film, and especially horror as well. Let's see here. Do. So we've got Ryan Olik. Oh, is it Olachow? Ryan is in the chat. Welcome, Ryan. And Gary is eating Funyuns and a bunch of Crunch. All right. And Gavin's lady is visiting family for her cousin's graduation out here in Arizona. Well, it's a beautiful time to visit the state in May because I don't know if she's coming out to Phoenix, Gavin, but it is getting kind of hot, but it's not like blisteringly hot. It's still manageable to some degree. Let's see here. And Happy says, I have an unpopular take on these fan films being taken down. Sad people can't show their art, but unfortunately that's the risk that comes with fan films. Yeah, and I think the big risk there, Coy, hold on, I think I have a sneeze. Excuse me. Woo, I think that's my first on-air sneeze, you guys. Let's get some bless yous in the chat, right? No, I'm just joking. Yeah, Coy, I think the big thing, too, is when you use the music from these established productions, I think you run into a tough time with the music. I don't think it's as much as, like, the titles or the characters, but I've even had a couple videos I've done, like I did that Crow fan film teaser reaction, and it got hit, just a little bit of it got hit with like out in like Serbia or something crazy like that. They can't watch it because of the Deftones song. So usually it's the music, but yeah, you're absolutely right. You take a risk. A lot of the fan films, I think, especially the bigger ones, like, people like Vincent over at Womp Stomp, I would imagine they speak to lawyers or, they figure out a way to where they don't have to worry about that. So I think using original music certainly helps because as long as you're not profiting off of it, I don't think they can get you for using the characters. Let's see here. Paul was watching Chopping Mall for the first time this morning. It was a fun movie. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Chopping Mall. That's got Barbara Crampton is in that one, right? Gosh, I need to revisit it because I think I've only seen it once and it's been so long. I don't really remember too much of it, so I definitely need to revisit that one. We've got Brother Fluff Salisbury in the chat. What's happening, Brother Fluff? Great to see you in the chat. Coy says, even Dave McCrae has said there was always a chance It's Me Billy could be pulled or messed with. Yeah, always a chance whenever you're playing with someone else's property, especially if you're, not using that original music and stuff like that, or, using music that's maybe close. Jean Whitcomb says for her, it's Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street for her favorite franchise in horror. And this is great. You guys are just saying hi to each other. Tyler says Sam Raimi has had a huge impact on me as well. Tyler, I love his style. I just, at least his style, I feel like he's maybe like that Doctor Strange movie he did was a terrible movie. And I don't think that's really his fault. I think it's just like, I didn't enjoy the story at all. To me, other than the little bit of like zombie Doctor Strange that you get at the very, very end, to me, it doesn't look like a Sam Raimi movie, which I think is a shame. If you're going to hire Sam Raimi to do a movie, you have to let him kind of have enough free reign to where you can see his style, because he's just such a stylistic director, visually speaking, So, don't hand him the ball and then take it right away, is essentially what I'm saying there. So yeah, you guys are all just saying what's up to each other. This is awesome. Mega bless you, Davey from Paul. Thank you so much. Now I've come down with a case of the sniffles. What's happening? Bud and Blaster is in the chat. Is that Bud or is that Blaster? I think it's Blaster, because I think Bud always has just Bud right next to his name. Welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us. And thank all of you guys. Thank you so much for spending some time here on a Sunday with me. I know everyone's kind of getting ready, heading into the work week and all that stuff. Or maybe you're just trying to put off some responsibility. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please remember to hit that like button if you haven't done that. If you're not subscribed yet, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. And yeah, we're going to kind of do our regular weekend roundup thing where we just kind of talk about what we've covered on the channel this week, what's coming up in the immediate future, and then, what's coming in the not so distant future. In the not too distant future, right? Just like Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's how we're going to roll. Paul says those trolls in Dave's channel will probably try their hardest to get his Billy films taken down. Yeah, the trolls over there are really interesting. Sending in a super chat that's like, Dave, you know what you did, just admit it. Like, stuff like that is really, that's just odd behavior to me. Like, if you have something to say that you want to accuse the guy of, and you're going to pay money to like tease that you're accusing somebody, why not just like put in the super chat and just say what you think they did? But I mean, I don't think there's really anything. I think this person's just talking shit. I've always thought that Dave has been like a pretty respectful guy, right? Like, he's super boisterous on his channel, and he may say some things that if you just took them at face value, they may seem like a little inflammatory or whatever, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've never heard him attack anybody personally. So to me, it's sort of like, as long as you're not attacking people personally, like, you should be able to speak your mind on your opinions and be as boisterous and as free with it as you want. And if other people take it personally, then to me, that's kind of a them issue, So I've never seen an instance where Dave has actually like gone after somebody. At least like sometimes he might say something, in response where he's just like, this person's a loser that needs to get a life. Like, whatever. That's fair if they're jumping in your channel and attacking you, right? Let's see here. Gavin says Sam Raimi's movie Drag Me to Hell is horrible in my opinion. I've only seen it maybe once. I think it was in the theater, Gavin, and I liked some of it. I liked the parts that reminded me of Evil Dead 2. I don't really remember too much of the rest of the movie. So, yeah, I think it probably could have had a bigger impact because I think it was just like, okay. Gene says, Davey, forgot Friday the 13th. I just didn't like the remake. Yeah, I think all of those franchises, Gene, like they all kind of, I enjoy them all to varying degrees. If I had to pick one out of the icons, I'm picking Halloween. If I had to pick one horror franchise overall, I'm probably going to lean Evil Dead just because of how consistent everything's been. But of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th have their place. Yeah, absolutely. Really enjoy those movies. Every time I chat with you guys about those movies, it just makes me want to watch them again. Like, it makes me want to put in one of the Friday the 13th. But we'll get to what I'm watching here in a little bit because it kind of ties right back to that. We've got The Asylum Beyond the Dead in the chat. Says Haddonfield Nightmare is awesome. Yeah, I had a really fun time watching it with everybody the other day. Unfortunately, it's been taken off of YouTube, so Gosh, but my video, Braden didn't do anything with my video, so I guess the only way to watch it now is to go watch somebody like me talk over it. So that option is still there. Gary says Spider-Man and Evil Dead are Sam Raimi hits. Absolutely. I especially love Spider-Man 2. I think Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 is still one of the best comic book movies that's ever been made. I love Alfred Molina's take on Doc Ock. I really love a villain who you can understand and that also who has like a redemption arc. There's just something about that with villains that I really love. Unless it's something like a horror thing, but like when it comes to, a character like Darth Vader or Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, even Magneto in some of the X-Men films, I really like when the bad guys kind of like, they do this little dance, and maybe sometimes they're good just depending on the situation. I just think that makes the characters so much more complex, interesting, and easier to relate with, which I think makes them a better villain. Subscribe or the chopping mall robots will come for you, says Paul. And let's see here. I don't want to miss the rest. Let's see. Favorite Chucky movie, Davey? For me, it's Bride of Chucky. I really like Bride of Chucky as well, Antonis. Child's Play 2 might be my favorite, but Bride of Chucky is really fun. That's kind of like where the series just sort of took that turn, leaned more into the meta. Chucky got a brand new look in that film. So really important movie in the franchise and really enjoyable too. Let's see here. Asylum Beyond the Dead says, what's your favorite scene from Haddonfield Nightmare? That is a good one. I really like that shot. Like, I can't remember the character's name, but after Michael kills like the other professor that wanted to date John, and there's a police officer that goes into the house to check, and he's kind of like walking around, and you see him enter the home and walk through it, and then the camera goes back to like that establishing shot outside of the house, and Michael is just like seamlessly walking out at the same time that the police officer's walking in. Sorry, I got an itchy nose. And then we get this really cool shadow that's cast on the garage behind him. I really like that. I know it's not like so much a scene. For me, it's kind of tough sometimes to pick with Michael like an actual scene because a lot of it is like just like the imagery, right? So I'm going to be on Sledgehammer Horror here. We're shooting at the beginning of May. I'm going to do my first horror movie, and I'm not going to give away what movie it is or anything, but it was difficult for me to pick a specific scene because for me in that film, imagery was a big thing. Because sometimes like, after I watch a film or a film has an impact on me, it might just be like moments and flashes from that film that really stick with me. I mean, of course, I love the film in its entirety, but when I look back on it, it's like little images that pop up in my head that make me really want to revisit the film so I can take a look at that composition again, because I really get into the composition of film and all that kind of good stuff. Child's Play is Gary's favorite. All right. Child's Play 3. Child's Play 3 was like really rushed into production. Definitely has some really fun moments. But I feel like maybe they could have taken like another year with that one. It might have been a little bit better. But to each their own. It's been a while since I've seen it, so maybe I just need to go back and check it out, Gary. Paul says they also make 1 million alt accounts with names like Dave McRae is a bloody wanker. Yeah, the trolls that's about as creative as the trolls get, is just making new accounts, right? And yeah, Allie, they're pretty bad over there. Antonis loves Child's Play 3, says it gets a lot of hate for no reason. Brooke says Dave has lots of fun with the trolls. Yeah, just go crunch one out. Just go crunch one out, We've got Blu-ray Addict in the chat. What's happening, Blu-ray? Great to see ya. Oh my gosh, you guys are really popping off in the chat. I am so far behind. Asylum Beyond the Dead. The Haddonfield Nightmare was taken down. Braden took it down as a precautionary measure because a whole bunch of Halloween fan films have been getting taken off of YouTube. I don't know if you were in the chat the other night when I had said this, but we were originally going to cover a film called Halloween Night from 2020. But like the day before the stream on Friday, it was taken down because Compass International filed a copyright. So Apparently, it's been happening with a whole bunch of different fan films, and Braden took Haddonfield Nightmare down just to make sure his channel doesn't get hit. Paul says, I'm such a Halloween guy to the bone. I'd rather walk a mile and watch a Halloween movie than sit on the couch and watch a different franchise. All right, man. Well, hey, that is fair enough. I think Michael is definitely worth it. Ashton Luck is in the chat. What's happening, Ashton? Welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday. I hope the weekend has been treating you well. To see here, I missed so many. Let's see here. Blue Wolf says, I don't get it either. I mean, Chucky in the military school and the characters are awesome. Yeah, there's the guy jumping on the grenade in Child's Play 3 is definitely a memorable moment. Allie says she watched Third Saturday in October yesterday. Part 1 was the best. I have not seen any of those movies, Allie, so please shoot me a message and share with me where I can watch those. I'd like to check them out. Asylum Beyond the Dead's favorite scene in Haddonfield Nightmare is when Michael bites off John Tate's arm. Does he bite off John Tate's arm? Does that really happen? Asylum, are you messing with me? Let's see here. Tyler says Darkman is one that he holds dear. A Simple Plan is so good. Darkman actually gave him recurring nightmares for years. You know, I've never seen Darkman, Tyler. It's terrible. I have no excuse, none at all. I need to check it out. I think it's just maybe I put it on a streaming queue at some point and then never got around to it before it was taken down. Sometimes you just miss a movie and you have no good reason. Don't give me no reason. But, you know, I can watch it and cover it on an episode of I Finally Watched It, which could be very fun. Gary says Ian McKellen was a fantastic Magneto. Ashton says Child's Play 2 is the GOAT. Paul loves the intro to Bride of Chucky. I really like when the guy gets completely obliterated by the semi-truck in Bride of Chucky. That is wild, wild moment. And of course, John Ritter is just great. Gary thinks the Child's Play series went downhill after Child's Play 3. Well, I think Bride of Chucky was fun. I think there's been some fun entries. It's kind of like back and forth with Child's Play. Like, I like the one, and then I don't like the next one, and then I like the one. It's like the old Star Trek movies. You guys are still saying hello to each other. That is great. Well, it seems like everyone's hanging out here, and it seems like I'm kind of caught up with the chat. Allie, are you saying that those movies are available on Shudder? That's great. Gary says, I hope the Never Hike Alone movies don't ever get taken down. I don't think they will, Gary, because I think Vin has just, you know, made sure to do all the proper checks. And I mean, keep in mind, a couple of those have been on YouTube for, it was like 2017 when he put out the first one. So it's been a good long while that they've been able to hang out. And then the Oct says you could probably do a watch along for Halloween fan film Haddonfield Factory. I doubt it will get taken down. Do you doubt is that your film, the Oct? Is that your film? Yeah, I hope no more of them get taken down. You know, I mean, you guys know how I feel about fan films here on the channel. And I mean, I totally get it if you're a rights holder and maybe you don't want all that stuff out there. But at the same time, all it does is stir up more interest and keep your property relevant. So I don't really understand why they would, you know, take something down unless they feel like, you know, a whole bunch of money is being made off that property. But, you know, I don't know if even, I don't even know if you can monetize the videos on YouTube if it's a fan film. I have no idea. I'm not even eligible to monetize this channel yet. We're working on that. Every time you guys tune in for a live stream and every time you guys tune in for a premiere or check out another video, it helps us reach that final, like we have one more requirement that we have to satisfy to be able to monetize and do memberships and stuff like that. So really appreciate you guys helping out with that. But until then, I'm kind of in the dark about how the monetization works, especially with something that's potentially could be hit with copyright. What's the deal with my late show? Well, Gary, we will get to that. So let's go ahead and just kind of cruise through what we've got here to cover, because you guys have been looking at the thumbnail for long enough. And the Oct says, yeah, it's mine, yeah. Well, hey man, we should cover that. I really want to do that fan film Friday thing and keep that going consistently. He says it's not good enough to get taken down. Well, hey, we should plan that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I kind of want to save for October. So I've got a collaboration in the works where myself and Nick from the Lost River Drive-In and Lee over at Drum Dums, we're gonna hop on and do a 15th anniversary celebration of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009 because we love that film. So that's something that we're saving for October. I'll probably do a Halloween franchise ranking in October. I'd love to cover more Halloween fan films. And I don't know, Barry and I, Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards, we are going to do that show tentatively titled Why We're Wrong, where we kind of do like a healthy debate back and forth about a movie that we feel differently about. And we're going to cover H2O is something that we've already discussed. So I don't know if we're going to do that in the summer since that was a summer movie, or if we're going to hold off and do it during October to just try to get all that Halloween traffic we can get. So we'll see. So Antonis, it won't be... maybe it will be. I think it will be in August. Yeah, Antonis, you're right. The celebrate because Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 came out in August. We're gonna put it out in August. That'll be great because we'll be able to get some traction for it, and then hopefully it has like a little bit of a second life once October hits, and we can really push it again during the Halloween season. But you're right, it will be in August to match that because I think the 15th anniversary, it's like the 26th or 29th of August, something like that. So yeah, let's Allie, hit that like button, y'all. Let's get into some news. I wanted to cover something before we get going here because so on the Horror Show channel, I did a review with Cecil Laird of Abigail when we saw it at the press screening, and I kind of was mulling over doing like a spoiler-filled review here on the channel, but I kind of wanted to just keep that review over on Cecil's channel and not try to do my own thing that would, compete or anything like that. But man, I've seen so many people with Abigail acting like it's kind of like the second coming, and also like really bummed out that it just didn't seem to like make as much money as one would hope in the box office. And it had a huge drop off this weekend. So I just wanted to have a quick chat, kind of some unfiltered thoughts on Abigail here. What's happening, Blake from All the Good Names Are Taken podcast? Man, I can't do many push-ups at all. Like my arms are just not that big. Like, I'm lucky if I get like 15 to 20 good ones in there. So yeah, I'm not really good at the push-ups. Been doing some light dumbbell exercising and just trying to tone what I have, but definitely not a bulky guy by any means. But speaking of Abigail, I do think it's a good movie. I think it's fine. I liked it just fine. I think that maybe people are just like really hungry for like a fun horror movie to really latch onto and love. But I do think that some of the hype can always like kind of affect the way you feel about a movie, but I was able to see this a couple days earlier. But I had seen a couple reviews that were sort of, kicking up the hype a little bit. I loved the trailer for Abigail. Like it had me ready to go. To me, I was like, this looks like From Dusk Till Dawn. It just looks like, a hilarious, bloody good time. But I mean, let's be honest about Abigail. If you've seen it, you know that this movie takes way too long to cut to the chase. And I don't even mind that they, reveal in the trailer that Abigail is a vampire. I think that's fine. I think the biggest sin that Abigail commits as a film is that it's like 10 minutes too long, 10 to 12 minutes too long. We know from the trailer that this is going to be a fun movie where people are trapped in a mansion with a crazy agile vampire, and that it's going to be, you could just imagine the carnage candy. But for some reason, when you're sitting there in the theater watching this movie, it takes about 40 minutes to cut to the chase, even though the trailer kind of gives us almost everything. So I would rather have this movie by about the 25-minute mark. Let's get going with the blood. And then I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I do think that this film is tonally uneven. It's like sometimes they're making jokes, and then sometimes we get into like this really serious backstory with Melissa Barrera's character, and then they go back to making jokes, and then it's like Abigail is like the most fierce, cunning, manipulative monster of all time. And then towards the end of the movie, some things happen where you're just like, this doesn't fit this character at all. What the hell is going on? And then Frank, who's this like, he and Joey, Melissa Barrera's character, are kind of at each other's throats the whole movie, and you're sort of waiting for him to have some sort of redemption arc, and it just sort of like teeters and spins out of control. And there are a couple things that happened towards the end of the movie where I was sitting there in the theater and I'm just like, for real? Like, you guys, you're still like unveiling things to me, and I've been ready for this movie to be over. So while I did like the movie, definitely didn't love it. It's really difficult to compare it with a movie like Late Night with the Devil, because I think that's another movie that got like really overhyped for a lot of people. Everyone that didn't see it in the theater and waited until they saw it in the Shudder, waited until they could see it on Shudder. I think it's a little bit of a disservice to the film, and it's a little bit of a disservice to you as well. But I totally understand, because this movie wasn't playing everywhere. Some people had to drive a really long ways to check this one out. So I totally get that like hype with any film can kind of like raise your expectations to a place where they can never be met. But I would say something like Late Night with the Devil is just, maybe it's just more my kind of horror film, because at the press screening for Abigail, people were hooting and hollering. They were applauding certain moments, and there was a lot in that movie that I did really enjoy. But again, about 10 to 12 minutes shorter. Just get to the program a little bit quicker, and maybe just a little bit more of an even tone with some of the characters. And I would have easily walked out of the theater, been, this is like a 4 out of 5. This movie's so much damn fun. But for me, it's like a 3 out of 5. Whereas I would say Late Night with the Devil for me would be a 4 out of 5. Let me catch up on everything you guys were saying while I was blah, blah, blahing. Let's see here. Tyler Adams says, I remember looking forward to the release of a Coheed and Cambria fan film based on the comic that Claudio writes, but the dude got a cease and desist. Yeah, I mean, why not? Coheed and Cambria should have enough money to, be able to get somebody to write that film that they could pitch to a full studio. What's it called, Tyler? That comic that he wrote. Antonis says, last question, sorry, who is your favorite Michael Myers actor? For me, it's Tyler Mane. Well, it's so basic bitch to say this, but I think Nick Castle's my favorite, just because of how unassuming the way that he played the role was. He got to lay the groundwork, right? So it's not like he's not doing an imitation of anything. He's just doing his thing. And so I think that a lot of actors after that had a tough time kind of capturing that. I would put James Jude Courtney like really close to Nick Castle, because I felt like he did the best job portraying that version of Michael outside of Nick Castle. Paul says, I prefer Rob Zombie, but Eli's movies have better dialogue. Well, that's certainly true, because Rob Zombie's dialogue is dreadful. And I think like a movie like Thanksgiving, I guess we can kind of compare Thanksgiving to Abigail, because it's sort of like a fun horror, like a fun, bloody horror movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. But I think like Thanksgiving is, I mean, for me, that might be a 5 out of 5, because it's just so much damn fun as a slasher, and it's such a love letter to all of the slashers that came before it, especially My Bloody Valentine and The Prowler. So I really love Thanksgiving. I mean, they got to really screw it up to not have the sequel at least be good, right? And it seems like if they take the same amount of care, which it does feel like they are doing, since they're not going to, they're going to wait until 2025 to do the second Thanksgiving film. So I feel like I can trust Eli Roth with this kind of film. But yeah, his other movies I haven't been like too big of a fan of, but Thanksgiving, holy shit, right up my alley. Paul said he was very meh on Abigail. Yeah, I felt like a jerk in the theater, kind of, Paul, because everyone, I know when Cody Leach saw it at the film festival he went to, and granted, maybe it's different when you're at a screening and the filmmakers are right there and you get to interview them, that might kind of have an effect on how you are feeling during the movie and how you're receiving the film. But I trust Cody as a reviewer. I don't think that there's too much of that. Like, I don't think it's laid on too thick or anything, but I do think it can affect the way you feel about a movie for sure. And yeah, nothing wrong with people loving the movie. I've just been seeing so many people out there just acting like it's the greatest thing ever and really bummed that it didn't do better in the box office. And I'm sort of like, well, hey, I think it would have done better if it were better edited, a little bit shorter, and a little more even tonally. And then you would have had a total hit that wouldn't have dropped off, because there are probably a lot of people like me and Paul that walked out of there and they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's good. Like, maybe I'll watch it again. I'm not buying Abigail. I know that much. Whereas I would love to own a copy of Late Night with the Devil, even though I can watch it on Shudder. Let's see here. Dick Warlock from Halloween 2 is Gary's favorite. That's awesome. Dick Warlock's great as Michael Myers. Love that Dick Warlock glide. Allie says for her push-ups, she pushes her fork up to her mouth. That's pretty good. Yeah, Paul, the creative choices later on the film absolutely lost me. Yeah, that whole last 10 minutes, I was kind of like, I don't care. Like, the last 10 minutes of the movie, I'm like, let me go. Really, the only thing I liked from that portion of the film was the excess amount of blood, because they really laid on the blood. And anytime, there's a few times in the movie, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but a few times in the movie where there's an explosion of blood, and that was really satisfying and really fun. It had a couple moments where I was like, oh, we're getting bloody like Evil Dead and From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm just not having as much fun. And maybe it's a radio silence thing for me, because Scream 5 and 6 are just kind of to me too. I feel like these guys keep on getting movies that are sort of easy to hit out of the, just hit a home run with them. And I don't think they're really doing it the right way. I think sometimes they're pulling so many influences from all over that they just sort of lose me, kind of like they lost Paul there at the end. Yeah, Blu-ray, I think checking it out when you're on streaming is the way to do it for Abigail. And again, it's like a B minus, C plus B minus, something like that. It's not a bad movie. And especially we all have our different niches of horror that we really love, right? I kind of love the slashers, demonic possession, haunting kind of movies are my top 3. And vampires, I do really love movies From Dusk Till Dawn, stuff like that, And I love the old school Dracula movies and the Hammer stuff, those are really fun. But I think if you are a big time vampire fan, that's a subgenre that you love, then Abigail is probably going to be an A+ for you, because that's what you're going for. But oddly enough, Abigail reminded me a lot of House on Haunted Hill, the 90s remake, and that whole wave of a group of oddball people stuck somewhere having to deal with some sort of foreboding, either a monster or a ghost. It just kind of had that vibe, which sort of makes sense with Radio Silence, because they did the Scream movies, which, are definitely influenced from 90s movies, right? And one of those guys, I don't know which guy it is from Radio Silence, but he was in a band called Link 80 that I really liked as a kid. A really rough ska punk band that I had a lot of fun with. So love his creative work as far as a musician, not really pumped on his creative work as a filmmaker necessarily. Let's see here. Blu-ray says movies are longer than they need to be. Yeah, I agree. Gavin says, isn't Abigail supposed to be a reimagining of Dracula's Daughter? Yeah, I mean, I'm not so familiar with Dracula's Daughter, but I've heard that very loosely, just the idea of people not really knowing if this person is a vampire, maybe that's the only thing from Dracula's Daughter that's taken. Because it definitely feels like it's carving out its own space there. And I don't think any movie from back in that day would be able to get away with the things that they do here in Abigail. One other thing really for Abigail that threw me off is Melissa Barrera's character Joey, and then the guy that plays Mr. Rickles, I think. 5 or 6 times in the movie, and actually probably 5 or 6 times within the first 45 minutes, they give each other this significant look. And I'm starting to think like, all right, are they trying to tell us that they're dating or they're a couple because these people aren't supposed to know each other? But no, they just keep on having them give the significant look. They like almost kiss at some point. Nothing ever comes of it. And I would have been just fine with like one or two of those significant looks. So I think sometimes with radio silence, it's like laying it on too thick. Like we need to, I think creative folks need to remember that the audiences aren't stupid. We need to treat the audience with that level of respect, that they've got a higher intelligence level. Audiences need to hold filmmakers and creative types to a higher standard, or else we're never going to get, great art consistently, right? So maybe that's another reason why there's a drop off in the box office, because it's not really giving the audience what they rightfully deserve. Let's see here. Just don't want to miss anything. I feel like I saw Cabin Fever many years ago on Sci-Fi Channel, but I can barely remember anything about it. Gary says one of the female characters had her face fleshed out. It was giving me nightmare. Oh, you guys are talking about Cabin Fever here. All right. Oh my gosh, I missed so much. So much, Tyler. Let me try to catch up here. Paul says, I'm really biting my tongue from ranting about the things I didn't like so I don't spoil it for Gary. Yeah, I think we've said quite enough about Abigail. And again, I liked it just fine. I just didn't love it. So sometimes when I see people like really pouring on the syrup, I'm just sort of like, hold up, everyone. Like, let's have a for real talk about this movie that doesn't get too grandiose either way. Like, I'm not shitting on the movie. I think that if you're a fan of horror and a fan of vampire movies, that it's worth the theater experience because it was fun for me watching in the theater, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Let's see here. King Killer Chronicle. Is that what that is? Is that what the Coheed and Cambria thing? We might have to chat about that offline, Tyler, because I am interested in hearing that. Antonis says his favorite horror director is Rob Zombie. Loves his creativity in his movies. Yeah, I wish he just had better writing. I think the film, like what he does with the camera is great. Yeah, Coy, I get what you're saying here. He says that you heard the movie isn't making any money. Yeah, I think it had a good haul the first weekend, but it's dropped off like 50% in the second weekend. And then Coy says, I love how everyone is pretending if you don't know the twist, Abigail, it would make it amazing. If you can't tell what the twist is, even without the trailer, I can't help you. Yeah, and I think it's totally fine. I've seen a lot of people like, I've seen a couple times where Cody Leach has come out to sort of defend the movie and sort of be like, everyone that says the movie isn't good is basically saying because the trailer gave away too much, which I think is fine. Like, all I'm saying is if the trailer gives away that much and makes it seem that fun of a movie, then cut to the chase and let's have the movie be as fun as the trailer. Like, why is the trailer so much damn fun and feels like you're just going to be rolling in the seats, like laughing and having a good time, and then the movie is just like a little too long and has all these like unnecessary little character twists that are just don't need to be there. I don't know. But yeah, I thought the trailer was great. Based on the trailer and what I heard from Cody's viewing experience, I thought Abigail was going to be absolutely amazing, and it was fine. OG Cabin Fever is the only one that Gary has watched. Caitlin Cronenberg's first feature, Humane, kind of stupid. That's too bad. Tyler Adams loves Link 80. How can you not, right? Especially that 17 Reasons. That I think that's their first record when Nick Tranio was still singing in the band. Rest in peace to Nick. Unfortunately, he lost a battle with depression, really early on in his life. The band got a new singer and carried on, but I think Nick's voice just like really fit the rough and tumble sound of that band. Let's see here. You guys are so chit-chatty. Coy says the horror community has a real problem with pouring on the syrup anytime anything doesn't suck completely. Yeah, and Coy and I would also say too, this is something that Dave's always talking about on his channel, and something I agree with him wholeheartedly on is that, and Wolfman's Got Nards has highlighted this quite a bit. Barry's always talking about this, that like it's okay to just kind of like something, right? That I think one thing that we do, collectively on the internet, and when we react to things, it's either the greatest thing or it's the worst thing. And I think that's hardly ever the case. I think a lot of things are kind of in the middle. And yeah, I think Abigail for me is just kind of right in the middle, a little on the good side of middle. But yeah, we try to act like we're so starving that as soon as something comes out that's like competent, we try to say it's the best thing ever. Allie says, after Halloween ends, I don't get excited about movies anymore. I know what you were thinking, Davey. I can't help it. You just won't stop talking about Halloween ends, Allie. Allie's got a crush on Halloween ends and just can't admit it, everyone. Give her some shit in the chat. I want to see some friendly, good-natured ribbing, right? Keep it friendly. Favorite trilogy is Halloween Kills. All right, Antonis. Allie, I'd rather watch Abigail and replay 50 times without a break than have to watch Ends again. All right. Whew. Did I see that they're making a Ready or Not 2? That's the one movie of Radio Silences that I've not seen. I've not seen Ready or Not, and that I wouldn't be surprised if that's their best movie. Let me know in the chat if you think that Ready or Not is the best Radio Silence movie, because I would imagine it probably is by a long shot. Well, you'll get some applause from Gary if you like Halloween Ends, Allie. I think you've got a crush on it. I think you've got a crush. You try to say that you don't like it, but you sure talk about it a lot. Let's see here. Yeah, I think we can move on to the next little item here, guys. So we can just kind of blow by what we covered here on the week, or this last week. The Deadpool and Wolverine trailer came out. That was a lot of fun to catch. Definitely a whole bunch of F-bombs in the trailer there, and really great to see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds finally get to interact with each other as those characters. And man, I just think that this movie, I'll be surprised if this one isn't an absolute banger here. And it'll be funny because I think that this is what's gonna kind of save Disney's Marvel run, right? Because they've been having like a rough go. And how funny would it be if the movie that saves Disney is going to be the R-rated movie that is probably one that they wish they didn't have to make. But I think it just goes to show that we can have, these movies can be peppered in there. Like, not every comic book movie has to be like a comedy that's R-rated and like really bloody or anything. But I think what Disney is sort of missing the mark on is it's like, let's do a little bit of everything. Let's kind of like dip in and out of some more extreme versions of these characters, and then we can still do like the bubblegummy kind of stuff for the kids, right? So, had a really fun time watching that trailer, and really looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine. And then we watched The Haddonfield Nightmare on Friday. We kind of already covered that, so maybe I should have had it popped up here on the list a little bit, but that was a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. I had the mic, Tyler, you'll appreciate this. I had the mic silenced a little bit at the beginning. We needed you there, Tyler, but everyone hopped in and let me know what was up. Got things back on track. Loved watching that film with you guys. And now that's probably one of the only ways that you can experience that film is by going back and checking out that stream. And then just yesterday, I dropped an interview with my buddy Cole Monroe Chitty from Juneau, Alaska. We both grew up there. Oddly enough, though, even though I think Cole was like a year ahead of me in school, we didn't really know each other until after high school. Like, I had like seen him out and about, right? Because it's such a small town, but we just didn't really know each other until our 20s. So got to know him a little bit. He was playing music a lot at the time. But as you can see here from the thumbnail, Cole is a very talented visual artist, a really smart, sweet guy. And not only does he do art like this that you see here in the thumbnail, but he also does a whole bunch of art for board games. So some of them, most of them are like horror themed board games, but also, outside of that as well. And the interview is a really great chance to just get to know what influenced him growing up. We talk a little bit about horror movies. He highlights some of the artists that he really looks up to, and then some of the writers as well. And we cover, his art in the board game scene, and then also just some board games that he's really into. So check that video out. Make sure to give that one a like and leave a comment to let me know, if you want to see. What I'd like to do actually is bring Cole on with a couple of other people and play one of the board games. So that would be kind of a fun thing to do. Maybe we only do that like a handful of times a year, but I think that could be a fun like weekend thing to hop on and do with all of you guys live in the chat. So let me catch up here on your guys' comments. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything because you guys are chit-chatty. Coy says Immaculate wasn't great. Everyone said it was really good. Then First Omen was mediocre, and everyone was like, oh, it's better than Immaculate. Yeah. And unfortunately, Coy, I think a lot of people had the same reaction to Late Night with the Devil because you wait about a month to see this movie that everyone's telling you is amazing. And then you watch it streaming at home, and it's just not the same experience. But Kate and I went and saw Late Night with the Devil in the theater on opening weekend. It was a packed house. It was really cool, like the concept of, going back and forth from like the black and white widescreen to the colorized aged film in like the 4:3 TV setting was really awesome. And yeah, I guess, sometimes when a movie is just like the kind of movie that I'm just sort of into, it just sucks me in and it's got me. So I definitely, will admit that I'm biased on Late Night with the Devil because genre-wise, it's just more appealing to me than something like Abigail. But I can totally see why people would be underwhelmed with Late Night with the Devil. I think, though, it's one of those movies that since it takes place on Halloween, that maybe people will warm up to it a little bit more as time goes because they'll watch it every year, hopefully around Halloween. A whole bunch of hate for Halloween ends in here. That is great. 17 Reasons rips. Okay, I'm like way behind on the chat here. Paul, you're right. Juneau is the capital of Alaska. Not quite sure if there's going to be a part 3 on Happy Death Day. I need to check those out. I've not seen either of the Happy Death Days. That was the guy that was originally going to do Scream 7, right? It's Chris, what's his last name? I feel like he's got a last name that's like kind of a Hollywood last name, and I can't think of it right now. Sorry about that. Let's see here. After I went back and watched Late Night with the Devil and ended up enjoying it. Oh, you rewatched it? I feel like it was hyped up just a little. Yeah. That's the trouble, with waiting to watch a movie. It's almost like if you don't see it that first weekend, it's just going to either be overhyped or it's just going to fizzle because people are going to talk their shit about it. So it is difficult. Sometimes, like when it comes to a movie that I want to review on the channel, like I don't watch anyone else's review or really read anything that anyone says about it before I go in to do my review because I don't want anything to like seep into the review. And I want to give you guys my honest, opinion on the movie. And so even if somebody happens to agree with me on how they feel about the film, I don't want any of that to sort of carry over, right? All right, let's see here. Christopher Landon, that's what it is. Yeah, I knew because Michael Landon from like Little House on the Prairie. So I knew he had a name that was like some sort of kind of legacy name that stuck out to me. But yeah, totally forgot it. And then, yeah, guys, we can move on to talking about, what we have coming here on the week and going into May. Paul says Late Night was hyped, but I still absolutely loved it. And Gene says, I hated Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. Well, I don't hate either one, Gene, but definitely his first movie I'm not too into. But I really like his Halloween 2, for sure. Oh, so Christopher Landon's dad is Michael Landon. Okay, I had no idea. I just figured, maybe there's some relation down the line. And who's Teeter on Yellowstone? Because I've seen a lot of Yellowstone, but I can't think of the character's name. Is she like the cowboy girl that's in like the first few seasons? Haven't seen Madam Web, and I heard it's not very good, but you know what? I'll still watch it. You know what's funny is everyone trashed that movie, and like the trailer to me, I was like, well, this looks kind of interesting. But I guess maybe the movie could always be far worse than the trailer for sure. I'll probably watch it at some point, but who knows when. So yeah, guys, coming up this week, we've got a midweek episode of Movie Date with Davey and Kate. We are going live on Wednesday, May 1st, and we're covering one of Kate's favorite movies of all time, 10 Things I Hate About You. Now, I saw this one in the theater when I was like a junior or a senior in high school. I think it must have been my junior year. Because I think it came out in like March of '99, which would make me a junior, or would have made me a junior at that time. And this one was just a big deal for teenagers at that time. And it's really cool to see that it's kept on. You know, it's continued to have this life because Kate and I are about like 11 years apart. So it's really awesome that somebody in like that age group also kind of grew up loving this film as well when they reached that time in their life, right? So, you know, really great performances by a huge cast, a whole bunch of people that became massive stars, and a bunch of other great performers just kind of like, you know, in the peripheral, right? So, giant ensemble cast, really great job by everyone. I don't want to, you know, talk too much about the movie here because I want to save that for the episode itself. But guys, let me know in the chat right now, how pumped are you for our very first non-horror episode of Movie Date with Davey and Kate? Let me know. JTG Studios is in the house. What's up, everyone? Says JTG. Oh, we're just chit-chatting about what's coming up on the channel. Already covered everything that happened on the channel this week, and we had a little chat about Abigail, so if you want to check that out, you can always scroll back there. But hope your Sunday is treating you well, JTG, and thanks for coming to hang out with us. Thank all of you guys so much. I just, you know I say it, but I need to repeat it every single time. You know, these lives would be absolutely dreadful if I was just sitting talking to a screen without anyone to interact with. So really appreciate the interaction from you guys. You know, as we continue to grow here, you'll see that we're at 576 subscribers here. So we're in the home stretch to 600. Now, I'm not going to do any more like videos for 600, 700, 800, 900. We'll probably mention it here, or maybe I'd mention it in a little quick post. But I'm saving everything for that 1,000 marker. So that 1,000 subscriber marker, we'll do a big old blowout on here. It'll be great. So yeah, should be a good time. So please feel free to share the channel with anyone that you think would enjoy this kind of content. And we'll just grow that Davey Deathray family that we've got here. Tyler says Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse from Christopher Landon is tight. All right, well, I'll have to check that out. I guess I've never seen a Christopher Landon film. Gary loves Rob Zombie's music, just not his films. Yeah, and Rob Zombie's music is kind of like dance music, but it's just heavier. But to me, it's very like Andrew WK. I think I said that last week. Allie must have said something. Oh, his sister's Tweeter. She's the only one that's actually from Texas. All right. Blu-ray says 10 Things I Hate About You is a really good movie. And looks like Paul and Gary are getting connected here. Tyler is Schwarzenegger levels of pumped for 10 Things I Hate About You. Cheesy Corn Pop is in the chat. What's happening at Cheesy Corn Pop? Adios, friendo. Is that a quote from 10 Things that I'm missing? Because we did watch it. I bought the Blu-ray for Kate. I don't know if that was around Valentine's Day. It might have been. So we might have just watched it a couple days ago, but I think we're going to rewatch it either tonight or tomorrow night so we can just refresh for the show. Paul asks me, Davey, have you seen Devil's Due or You're Next? I have seen You're Next. I have not seen Devil's Due. But You're Next is the one where like the guy like brings his girlfriend to like a holiday gathering with his family, and it turns into this whole like they put on masks and like hunt everyone like in the Thanksgiving party or whatever holiday it is. That's the one that's You're Next, right? And it turns out that this woman is like extra well equipped at taking people down. They all wear like animal masks. I think that's You're Next, and I have seen that one. So yeah, guys, really pumped for 10 Things I Hate About You on Movie Date with Davey and Kate. We will get back into, I think we'll get back into horror after this one. I'll have to see which film. I think Scream 2 is way ahead in the current poll. So if you guys want to vote and haven't voted yet, you can click on that community tab on the channel's main page, and you can vote for the next movie we're going to cover. And Scream 2 is like way far ahead. So maybe we just need to plow through those Scream movies. But I do like the idea of kind of alternating, doing like a horror and maybe a non-horror, just sort of going back and forth. I know a lot of the people that come to the channel here are, you know, the horror content is what brought them, and we're definitely going to keep on pumping that out. But I do have a lot more interest, and I can tell that you guys do too as well. So I just want to be able to celebrate all of that. You know, the emphasis is probably always going to be on horror, but that doesn't mean that it can't be, you know, 35% other stuff or something like that, you know? Blu-ray asks, which movie did you like more, 10 Things I Hate About You or Can't Hardly Wait? Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I've only seen Can't Hardly Wait like maybe 3 times. The last time I saw it was a few years ago. I do really like that one, though. That is a pretty fun party movie. I don't know. I might have to rewatch both of them before I can make that call, Blu-ray addict. But I think I'm leaning towards Can't Hardly Wait, actually. Maybe because it's just like it all takes place pretty much in that party like atmosphere, and it's a little zanier on the comedy. Jamie Hart says, I blind bought Devil's Due and haven't watched it yet. Nothing quite like blind buying a movie, right? And then you're like, am I ever going to take it out of the wrapping? I got everyone saying hi here. All right. Tyler contributed my CG to your awesome contribution to Gotham Noir. Yeah, Tyler, I'm really pumped about everything going on with Gotham Noir, and I don't want to say too much right now, but we'll tease a little bit of that later on here. Got some stuff planned here for the future, so I don't want to, jump on that too prematurely here. Let's see here. Can't Hardly Wait is one of Jamie Hart's favorites. Great soundtrack. I think so as well. I really like, Ethan Embry's really charming. Seth Green doing that whole like just over the top like voice that he does, and just his outfit in that movie is so ridiculous. Really like I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in What About Bob and a whole bunch of other movies in like the late 80s, early 90s. And he plays, he's like one of the nerds in Can't Hardly Wait. Really love his performance there. And of course, I mean, Jennifer Love Hewitt, it's probably, the hottest that she's ever been in a movie, I guess. Well, maybe Heartbreakers. Maybe Heartbreakers, she's even hotter, because the whole point of that movie is to sort of show all of that off and get the guys enticed. Yeah, Jamie, I'm the same way. I really love horror, but I kind of like, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. I'm very similar with music. I really love punk rock, but if the song is good and the artist is good, like, I don't care. I don't care what genre it is. I find myself like more inclined to like faster music that's heavier for the most part. But man, I love a whole bunch of like classic rock, a lot of 80s music, a lot of older hip hop, stuff like that. Yeah. Can't Hardly Wait is tops for Tyler as well. Yeah, the kid from Hook, Jamie, exactly. That he's really funny in Can't Hardly Wait. So I just, very similar. That is a good question though. Was that Blu-ray that asked? Yeah, Blu-ray. That is a really good question, because both films have a similar kind of feel. They're both ensemble casts and a whole bunch of people that went on to do really big things. You even have like a Jerry O'Connell a cameo in Can't Hardly Wait, which is really fun. So yeah, another couple of things that we have coming up here on the channel. I am planning on releasing this video this coming Friday, as long as I'm able to shoot it and everything in time. But this is going to be my A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise ranking. That's right. It's coming your way. After I put out the Friday the 13th ranking, this was the one that got the most response of what people wanted to see next. So I've been rewatching all of these A Nightmare on Elm Street films so I can get ready there. You can see in the thumbnail that I've got my cup of coffee so Freddy can't get me too easy. And gosh, if you look close enough, you can see in the background, it's the boiler room. So yeah, really fun time putting that together and, watching all of the movies again. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a franchise that like I'm relatively lukewarm on. Out of like the big three, I would put him third against Michael would be 1, Jason would be 2, and Freddy would be 3. And I know that not everyone feels that way. But that's great. That's one of the fun things about all of that is we can hop on here and chat about our favorites and get to know not only each other's differences, but then find out like the commonalities and the things that bring us together, right? Let's see here. Mainly into horror, drama, disaster, and action movies, says Paul, but he'll watch almost anything. Yeah, Seth Green is great in that film, Allie, and usually pretty fun all the time. I haven't seen Airborne, but I do really like Seth Green a lot. Let's see, you guys are talking about Independence Day. Let's see here. That's going to be super, just like Super Freddy, says Cheesy Corn Pop. Yeah, man, it'll be interesting to go to some of the later films in that series. For me, it's like the first 4 and New Nightmare are kind of like the standouts, and we'll see how things go as far as Freddy's Dead and the Dream Child and all that kind of goes. Recently, so you guys probably remember me mentioning that I tried to make it through the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street from 2010. Like years ago, I tried to watch that movie, turned it off within about 15 to 20 minutes. Last weekend, Kate and I sat down and watched it, and it was rough. I mean, I will be shocked if that's not in last place, and that's the only kind of spoiler thing that I'll give for the ranking here, because that remake is really, really rough. I'm trying to think of something positive to say about it, but it's difficult. If I get to get cuddly with Glenn, then yes, I am. Oh, you're talking about, yeah, whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Yeah. Gary is looking forward to the Nightmare ranking. Yeah, I am pumped for this one. And, I know everyone probably wants to see Halloween. Like I said before, I'll save that for October. But I will put out a poll, so look out for a poll on the page, guys, where you can pick the next franchise that I'll rank. So I'll throw out, like, probably Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What else? Hellraiser. We could probably do something like that. Yeah, we'll see. I'll put out a poll and you guys can pick the next franchise that we rank, because I really love getting that input from you guys. I say it all the time. You guys are the shareholders. I'm the CEO, so I want to make sure that there's enthusiasm coming from you guys when you hop on to check out whether it's a pre-recorded video or if you're hopping on one of the live shows we do here. We want to make sure that you've got input as well. Oh, Jamie says that's a joke that she's been having with her hubby for 30 years. Glenn is hot, yes. Hot young Johnny Depp with a little belly shirt. Not so bad, right? Tyler says Elm Street, Cecil will have to beat me away with a stick if he isn't using me for the next New Nightmare. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like from everything I've heard from you and Cecil that it was just a timing thing, right? Tyler, it sounds like it just, at that point in the production, it was just, they had already, I don't know if they had already gotten everything they needed in regards to VFX, but I would imagine, like any other film production, you always want to kind of like grow your stable, as you move forward. So it certainly can't help to have multiple people helping you out with all of those things, right? Paul says, can't wait to hear your thoughts on Freddy's Dead and the remake. Yeah, it'll be fun to get into those. And that, you bring up a good point, Paul. What's kind of nice is, of course, I could sit and do a review for every single one of these movies. And for certain franchises, I probably will. I'm definitely going to do full reviews of like the Evil Dead series and probably the Halloween series. And who knows, like as the channel continues to grow and we go down the line, then of course I'll probably dive into all these other, giant franchises. But it gives me a great opportunity to give you like 30 seconds to a minute's worth of thoughts on the movie. So like a little mini review while I'm doing the ranking for each one of these films. Gary says Jesse from Elm Street 2 was cute as well. Yeah, I mean, Jesse it's interesting. We just watched Nightmare 2 yesterday, and I didn't feel the same about it as I'd felt earlier. So it'll be interesting to see how rankings kind of move around. Because every time I watch a movie, I kind of walk away from it feeling a little bit different for the most part. So yeah. Watching the remake is like self-torture. You're a brave man. Well, it's the only time I've seen it, Jamie, and I probably won't watch it again. Gary, can't argue with you, sir. It was actually the first Elm Street I saw. Yeah, that's rough, Paul. The first one that you saw was the remake. Yikes. Yeah, it doesn't do itself any favors by like trying to be a remake and also sometimes trying to do its own thing, but we'll get into that when the video drops. There we go. Still haven't figured out which way to point my fingers. All right. And then coming up later in May, I've mentioned this one a couple times before, guys. We've got Movie Punks coming back on May 11th, Saturday, May 11th. Foz, Rotten, and I are going live to celebrate 45 years of George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Quite possibly the most famous, greatest zombie film of all time. Definitely, there's a whole group of people out there who say that this is the best one of all time, and it's really difficult to argue with that. Now, of course, if you guys saw the top 10 zombie movies that I did with Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards, you'll see that Dawn of the Dead wasn't in my number one, but man, it was damn near close, and I couldn't fault anyone for saying that Dawn is the best. That's absolutely for sure. So really excited to dive in and talk about that movie with Foz and with you guys. So keep an eye out for that one. Drop in on May 11th. Well, not drop in, it's going live on May 11th. And then the day after that, on May 12th, I'm going live with Chris Snyder over at Movie Misfits. If you guys haven't subbed to Movie Misfits, go ahead and check out his channel. This video is going to be on his channel, so you won't be able to watch it on the Davey Death Ray channel. But we are covering the entire Indiana Jones franchise. So last week I watched the first 4. And I've never seen Dial of Destiny, and that was my first time watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So again, really interesting going back to the original 3 that I grew up watching as a kid, seeing if I felt any differently about those, and just sort of making mental notes and all that kind of stuff about all the movies. And still need to watch Dial of Destiny so I can kind of collect my thoughts, but really looking forward to covering Indiana Jones and doing a whole retrospective with Chris. The reason why we're doing it this May is because Temple of Doom turns 40 this May, and The Last Crusade turns 35. So they both debuted in May, and they're celebrating some big anniversaries this year. So we're going to cover the whole damn thing. So Antonis, I know if you're still here in the chat, you're a big fan of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Looking forward to having you in the chat on that one and getting your thoughts there. Let's see here. Tough franchise to rank. Most of them stink. You must be talking, Gavin, I'm guessing you're talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street. Cheesy Corn Pop says Dan the Handsome Man. Who's Dan the Handsome Man? What am I missing? What do I miss? Is that from one of the Nightmares and it's just been a while? Let's see here. Paul says, I thought it had some good nighttime cinematography. Can't think of anything else really to praise. Yeah, I mean, just like any other movie, there's like flashes where you're like, this is fine. But man, as a whole, that one is rough. You guys are just kind of chatting amongst yourselves. But Paul says, Davey, what's your favorite Harrison Ford movie? For me, it's a tie between Air Force One and The Fugitive. That's a really good question, Paul. I mean, because it's tough to like count Star Wars as a Harrison Ford movie, although I think you could count Indiana Jones because he's certainly the star of those movies. I really love What Lies Beneath. You know, it's a Zemeckis movie from I think it was the late '90s, maybe very early 2000s. So a really good Robert Zemeckis movie that's almost like Zemeckis doing his best imitation of Hitchcock. It's got a little bit of that Rear Window kind of Vertigo vibe where I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really tough to kind of figure out what's what. And the only way you can figure out the whole story is to watch the entire movie. So I highly recommend people check out What Lies Beneath. If you have not seen that movie, even though it's technically not horror, it kind of falls in that whole like, you know, haunted house, like spirit that was treated unjustly while they were alive. So they're trying to help like resolve, you know, the injustice that's just left hanging there in the air. So very similar kind of vibe to like what The Changeling with George C. Scott does, but with a little bit of a different twist. So I really love What Lies Beneath. And then other than that, not to give away like too much for the Indiana Jones retrospective, but I'd probably say The Last Crusade. Really close between those two for sure. Air Force One is really fun. The Fugitive, I feel like I saw that when I was a very little kid. I need to watch it as an adult because I think the way you feel about movies totally changes, you know, when you're all grown up. Antona says, I'm not afraid to say it. I love the Elm Street remake, the dark tone, the creepiness, the kills. Yeah, I don't think there's any. Yeah, I mean, you should never be afraid to say that. And that's one thing I've learned about you, Antonis, is that you really do enjoy these remakes and like these newer entries more than a lot of people do. So keep flying that flag and, you know, celebrate what you love and, you know, don't worry about what anyone else says. The fact that I didn't enjoy it shouldn't take anything away from you, right? And I'm glad to hear that it doesn't. You just gotta stick by that. And then, you know, during the like when you watch that franchise ranking, I'll give a little bit of insight as to why the movie didn't work for me. I'm not just going to trash a movie because I didn't like it. I always like to give reasons why I didn't like it instead of just trash it, right? Because I want to make sure that the opinions are nuanced and well thought out and, you know, that they just come from a like a well-educated spot, or at least just that I can explain why I don't like something, right? Bob Z is really good, probably more influential to me than Spielberg. Yeah, Robert Zemeckis' movies are, he's definitely got his own style, and then he really moved like far into that whole like motion capture kind of thing. So he's always been in a different way than James Cameron. He's always been kind of pushing the boundaries of filmmaking and what's possible. So I really love when a filmmaker not only makes great movies, but they also like push the technology that opens things up for other movies. And I think that Cameron and Zemeckis are two of those guys that like what they've done, whether it's, you know, creating Photoshop through Cameron, and then all the mocap stuff that Zemeckis like pushed through, like it makes it more possible for smaller filmmakers and up and coming filmmakers to utilize that technology and make better movies. So in the end, it's really good for us. Let's see here. Looks like you guys are having fun with each other. Paul and Gary going back and forth. And then Gary's like, I love this. Antonis, it's fine, dude. We aren't judging you at all. I love Batman and Robin. Well, there you go. Yeah, and if you love it, Gary, you just like, you stand by it, right? I actually think that Batman Forever, you know, there's a few things that don't really work for me. It is a bit over the top and kind of like the old TV show, but I think Val Kilmer is a really good Batman and a good Bruce Wayne in Batman Forever. And I'd love to see that original cut that was just a bit darker. I think that would have been, you know, where the giant like bat confronts Bruce in his dream. I love that kind of stuff. Like that's what I'm interested in with Batman, and we'll talk a little bit of Batman here at the end of the stream. Friday, Paul says Friday definitely did a better job than Halloween in terms of the consistent and strong portrayal of the slasher villain. Yep, can't say you're wrong about that. Tyler says, I'm looking forward to Here with the main Forrest Gump gang reuniting. I don't know anything about that, so I guess I got to check that out. And then, yeah, guys, to kind of close things out, I think this is the last thing I have to show you. Coming up on May 15th, Wednesday, May 15th, we're debuting a brand new show. Now, they're just, I don't think there's enough late night live content in the community that we have here on YouTube. So whether it's talking about horror movies or just movies in general, Chris Snyder, my guy Chris Snyder there over at Movie Misfits, he does a late night show on Thursdays. And then I know there are a couple being planned for the weekend, which is why I stayed away from the weekend, because I want, I already have enough going on the weekend, honestly. And I try to do my best in an effort to carve out a space for the channel here to not like try to step all over everyone else's shows and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the audience members and subscribers kind of overlap. So I want you guys to be able to check out all these other great content creators and not try to like snatch up every little bit of time. So starting Wednesday, May 15th, we are debuting a brand new show. It is a late night show, and it is going to be Late Night with the Davey. So every time you think of this title, I want you to think of singing Running with the Devil by Van Halen, but singing it with Late Night with the Davey. So it'd be like, Late Night with the Davey. That's something that Kate came up with. I have to give her credit because I forgot that she came up with it. I didn't give her credit the other night. And got to give credit where credit is due. So yeah, Late Night with the Davey. All that kind of good stuff. So yeah, this was just something where, like I said earlier, I really liked the movie Late Night with the Devil. Started thinking about doing a late night show in the middle of the week, and the title just sort of hit me. It was fun chasing down the font. The font is called Macbeth, and it looks to me just like the Godfather font, pretty much. And then looking at the way that they did the font and like making sure the spacing, in between the words and then even between the letters was exactly how they did it there. That was a lot of fun. And of course, you can see that I've superimposed my ridiculous head on David Dastmalchian's body, just to sort of drive home the point. I guess I have to get fitted for a suit so I can be like a proper late night host. But yeah, the idea for this show is, I don't know if the debut show will have a guest, but the idea is to bring a content creator on as a guest. And honestly, what I'd really like to do is maybe get some of you guys to jump on. It would be fun to, if you have a question for me, or if there's like a talent that you want to show off, or, just something like that sort of, especially if you're not a content creator yet, or you're thinking about being a content creator, this is the perfect kind of show for you to jump on, share 5 minutes with me or something like that, and we just sort of embrace that zaniness of late night television and find that space here on the channel. And yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern, so it's not too bad for folks out there on the East Coast, and really not so bad for everyone else in the country. I actually thought that people would want the show to be later, but 10 p.m. works out great for me because it's going to be either 7 or 8 p.m. my time. So I don't even have to worry about really staying up late or anything. So it'll be awesome. See what you guys are saying. I saw Gary says Val Kilmer's my all-time favorite Batman. I don't care. Yeah, Val Kilmer's great. Paul says George P. Wilbur was his favorite Michael in part 4 or part 6. Let's see here. Tyler says Keaton's the favorite. Gary's like, everybody says Keaton's the favorite. Yeah, it's easy to pick Keaton as the favorite, right? Because those two movies are so iconic, and Tim Burton's style is just, so set in stone that to me those movies just stand out, and Keaton is the perfect fit for a Tim Burton Batman. I really like Ben Affleck as Batman, especially in the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman and in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, for sure. I was really skeptical of Ben Affleck as Batman, and man, ate my words on that one, because to me he's the most like screen accurate or comic book accurate Batman the way that he looks on the screen. He's just massive and barrel chested. So Gary says, how do I get on live? I still have some things to figure out, Gary, just to make sure that we can do all that stuff. That's why I'm not trying to debut the show too quickly here. Part of me was like, you come up with a new idea and you just want to like do the show right away. And I was like, no, I'm going to, Kate's dad is visiting. Let's have some time to like visit and enjoy that time with him here. And then even like some time afterwards to really make sure that that first episode goes off without a hitch. Because if we're doing a weekly episode, it is going to take some work, right? And it's still doing a full-time job and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see about that, Gary. I do have some things to work out, but yeah, we'll get you on there for sure. Paul and Gary are troublemakers in their own ways. I agree. You guys are really making the chat fly here. Tyler says Batman Forever was a great time for a kid. Those McDonald's cups and toys. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Drew Barrymore in Batman Forever. That was like her, like she was like kind of really not in anything for a little bit of time there and then popped up in that movie. Maybe even just the beginning of her like kind of comeback. And Paul's favorite George P. Wilbur, Michael, is part 6. That's a good one, Paul. That is a good one. Paul says your face doesn't look superimposed. It looks real in that late night image. So what we did in the, like, I, wanted to find lighting that matched the lighting on David Dastmalchian's face, and you could see the lighting on his left shoulder there. So yeah, that's all that lighting is natural. It was all caught in camera. And then I think my head is like maybe a little too big, but I wanted it to be like, I just wanted it to kind of stick out a little bit. But yeah, that's all credit to Kate for snapping that picture, helping me out with my face because she was like holding up her phone so she could reference the actual picture and then, look at the picture we were getting so we could get the same kind of pose. So can't do everything alone. You've got to have help in life. So really appreciate help from my lady. Tyler says, I was just listening to Van Halen in the car. My kids were like, what the fuck? Hey, some of the Van Halen's pretty good, though. Running with the Devil is a great Van Halen track. Coy wants to know what I do for work. Coy, I sell insurance for Allstate. And it's funny, I work remotely. I work for an agency that's in Lafayette, Louisiana. So it's kind of cool. I work like a 7 to 4, so kind of frees me up. It's nice to be at home, get to see the cats throughout the day. If they ever have any bathroom issues, which anyone who owns cats knows that sometimes they can have those, I'm here to help like clean up or whatever. And, it is kind of nice just to, I'm a bit of a homebody, but really I think the best part about it is I'm not spending a bunch of money on gas driving to and from work. I'm not spending that time driving to and from work, and I'm at less of a risk to get into an accident because I'm not driving around all the time. So yeah. Yeah, Gary's saying my face looks real in that image. Well, I'm pumped that you guys think that image is selling what we're trying to sell there. That's great. And we've got Matt Fatchy, sexy Matt Fatchy in the chat. He says, sexy Davey, what's shaking, brother? Just talking about what happened on the show or on the channel, what happened on the channel this week and what we've got cooking up. So yeah, Matt, if you're still there in the chat, I would love to have you on an episode of Late Night with the Davey. I know it's a little bit late for you, but maybe you can carve out a little Wednesday, hop on with me, even if it's just for about like 10 minutes or so, whatever kind of time you have. I'm trying to I would love to have some sort of co-host or at least have guests on. So, and the guests would be people from the chat and also other content creators such as yourself. And guys, if you haven't checked out Matt's channel, go ahead and click on over to Fatchy Cinema. Give that guy a subscribe. He has all sorts of really fun live content on there where he brings on other collaborators. They do watch-alongs. He's in really good with like the Rad crew, like the Born to Be Rad crew. So like Cody and Garrett and those guys. And I know, Matt, feel free to like drop a link in the chat if you want to, because I think you've got something coming up on Tuesday the 30th, if I remember correctly. That's actually one of the reasons why I moved that Halfway to Halloween watch along. I moved it to a Friday because I was like, well, Fan Film Friday. Okay, so that's great. And I saw that Matt was doing a live on the 30th, which is technically halfway to Halloween. And it's just one of those instances where I was like, you know what? In the spirit of not stepping on everyone's friggin' toes all the time and making sure that there's, room for everyone, I was like, why don't I just do the fan film on a Fan Film Friday and we just celebrate a little earlier, and then when Matt goes live on Tuesday, I can hop in and I can watch his video and enjoy from the audience's perspective, because I am a massive YouTube junkie. I'm sure you guys know that from seeing me in the chat on everyone else's channel. I love popping in and hanging out with you guys. I say this all the time, but to me, the priority is connecting with you guys, whether it's in the live chat on one of my videos, or if it's the live chat in someone else's videos, or even just the comment section on the pre-recorded stuff. I try to do the best I can to reply to every every comment, especially when there is something juicier there to reply to. So really for me, it's all about getting to know you guys better, building that community, and growing together as a group. And let's see here. Jump and Dreams was Gary's favorite. They were Gary's favorite Van Halen hits. Panama and Jump are Paul's favorite Van Halen's. Panama's really good. I mean, there's just something about Eddie Van Halen's guitar playing on, maybe not for me, not every Van Halen track, but some of those like more like, especially the David Lee Roth era, the songs that just moved a little more. Like I feel like when Sammy got in, they were a lot more like mid-tempo. But I think that Eddie's, guitar playing in those earlier records, really impressive, awesome stuff. Coy loves the work. It says work from home is great. That's right. It sure is. Cat piss smell is the worst, says Coy. Yeah, and our cats, we feed them on a raw food diet, so we're actually going to grind their food tonight. And it's not as bad, but definitely like, you gotta scoop them damn boxes every day, right? You can't just let it sit there. I mean, come on. So yeah, guys, I guess we can sort of kind of wrap things up here. We're coming up on the hour and 40-minute mark. If you guys have any questions you want me to answer, especially as it pertains to any of the shows or the upcoming stuff that I've mentioned here, upcoming shows we're bringing on, please feel free and ask away. I am so pumped for Late Night with the Davey. I put in a lot of work in this stupid little still image just because that's how pumped I am. So really excited to get a late night show going with you, and happy that the title just sort of fell in my lap with the success of Late Night with the Devil, and the fact that I really like the movie as well. Certainly helps, right? Tyler says, my wife and I were enjoying the Cranberries. That music brings tears to my eyes. My daughter wasn't having it, and then I switched it to Van Halen. Yeah, I really like the Cranberries too, Tyler. And they've got a little bit of everything as well. They're, definitely some softer tracks, some heavier tracks. I think that's a pretty solid pop band right there in the Cranberries. So yeah, guys, I guess, since there aren't any questions, I will tease a little bit. When we had covered, let's see here, I'll just go back to that. When we had covered the Uncharted fan film a couple weeks ago, I had mentioned, I'd shown off the Gotham Noir Instagram that Lux Media is working on. So, we've got some really big things coming up with Gotham Noir. I interviewed Daniello and Sarah, who are the writers and directors of Uncharted, the Oxus Redemption, and Chris Stanley took part in the interview as well. I think he helped out with the writing a little bit on the story for Uncharted, and he also played Nathan Drake. So, moving forward with Gotham Noir, same kind of team coming together. Chris is going to be portraying Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's a Batman movie that's going to be taking place in like the teens, 20s, like 19 teens, 1920s kind of time. I don't want to say any more than that, really, but I've been just getting to know these filmmakers better and better and trying to get involved in any way I can. So just, a little tease for you that, something's coming with that. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys here on the channel. And hopefully we're able to, share it on other people's channels as well and just bring more awareness to this film so we can make the dream come true for these filmmakers and, bring you guys clearly. I mean, just from slightly mentioning Batman earlier in here, we've got a conversation going on in the chat about Batman. So clearly he's got to be like number one or number two most famous comic book character of all time, most beloved of all time. So we want to give the fans, something really fun and different with Gotham Noir. And I think that the team at Lux Media is definitely on the right track with that. And yeah, hopefully we can see that support grow. So really excited to share that with you guys. But that's all the tease is going to be right now. So yeah, Tyler is working on that project as well. So it'll be really fun to have you along for that ride as well, Tyler. I'm really, really pumped on what's coming there. So yeah, Tyler's going to get to do some more CG leading up to the project. And yeah, my brother Matt is going to be working on Gotham Noir as well. And yeah, I'll go ahead and share a little bit more of my involvement when the time is right, for sure. Yeah, have a great rest of your night, Gary. Hopefully I didn't miss saying goodbye to you. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with us. Paul says probably the saddest band out there is Creed. I agree. I don't really like Creed, although they're having this huge resurgence, but to me, it's not that stuff that was bad in the 90s is still bad. Like there's a whole thing with Nickelback where people are trying to act like Nickelback isn't really bad. Like, come on, guys. Nickelback was dreadful. It's a really low point in rock and roll history. And I think it's okay to admit that. But yeah, guys, all I can say right now about Gotham Noir, if you want to learn a little bit more about it, something that I won't tease here, go check out the IMDb and maybe you can kind of figure out what I may be alluding to here in this live stream, but certainly pumped to share more. Yeah, guys, well, we're at about an hour and 45 minutes. I think that's pretty good. I don't think there's a reason to really stretch it out to 2 hours just to do that, right? I don't want to just hold you guys hostage just because I can. So if you guys don't have any other questions or anything like that, I think we can kind of wrap things up here. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys for Movie Date with Davey and Kate on Wednesday. We're going to be covering 10 Things I Hate About You. My A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise ranking will be dropping on Friday, which is the 3rd. That is the day that my father-in-law gets into town. So really looking forward to sharing that with you guys and seeing what kind of reaction that ranking gets. That's always the most exciting thing. And also seeing what you guys rank the movies as. When I did the Friday the 13th, I think the best part about it was jumping into the comments and seeing how everyone, was a little bit different. Going back and forth with a couple of you guys, just, I'm always fascinated to see people's lists, seeing where our lists kind of align and where they don't. It'll be really fun. So yeah, Gavin came back to Creed slander. This is my 13th reason why. I guess I shall watch 10 Things I Hate About You before then. Yeah, Gavin, that can be part of your 200 movies that you're watching this year, or 250, or however many you end up watching. Definitely worth the watch. I think it's a really fun movie, and it's a good, it's basically Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that story, but that's the gist of 10 Things I Hate About You, just modernized. It takes place in Seattle, which was the closest big city to where I grew up, and a city that I'm very familiar with. So it's really cool to see imagery, and just not a lot of movies get shot in like the Pacific Northwest and really showcase it. Like a lot of times movies are shot somewhere and it's like they just say it's like the Midwest or it's California, blah 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 blah. But it's really cool to see a movie that just sort of embraces that, and you just don't see it very much. So really looking forward to 10 Things I Hate About You. A Nightmare on Elm Street ranking dropping next Friday. And then, gosh, you guys will probably see me on Sunday for another live stream, and we can talk about everything that happened and kind of go through the whole rigmarole again. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, hanging out with me for almost a couple hours here on a beautiful Sunday, the last Sunday in April. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, an awesome work week that we're headed into here. And let's reconvene on Wednesday night live for 10 Things I Hate About You on Movie Date with Davey and Kate. I will see you guys then. And until next time, I've been and will continue to be Davey Deathray. Take care.